welcome to episode 5 of Growing the Game podcast. I'm your regular host, Kweku Kekeli, and today I have again Manya Khisa with me here as we want to dive into the world of African basketball once again. Today we'll be looking at the Nile Conference that ended in Rwanda, and we'll look at also the upcoming finals, which is going to take place right here in South Africa. Welcome, Mr. Manya Khisa. Hope you're doing good.
Thank you, Kwaku. I'm good. Thanks for the invite again. And looking forward to this episode.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back again as we did the last time. So today, as I've said earlier, we're just looking at it's a review of the Nile Conference and a preview of the upcoming finals in South Africa. So we saw some exciting games go down in the Rwanda, where we had teams like APR, we have MBB, we have Nairobi City Tenders, and we have Al Ahly Tripoli. And we saw some dominance from Al Ahly Tripoli, which we've never experienced in the history of BAL. 3 figures, and it was astonishing. We were all surprised, but they came in with full power, and I think we were impressed with their dominance. So I want to take your view on how the whole conference went so far for you.
I think as we discussed the last time in the last episode, no surprises there with who finished on top. I think the North African teams like Al Ahly Tripoli always prepare well for these kinds of tournaments. And of course, the players that they also acquired for this conference were excellent players. So it's not surprising that we saw the results that they got 6-0 and now, one of the favorites for the tournament.
Wouldn't I say it's too early to say why they are one of the favorites for the tournament? Because we've seen same dominance from Al Ittihad from Alexandria, Egypt. So wouldn't we say they are one of the favorites?
Well, again, I'm saying like the North African teams always prepare well. So you can expect them to be among the contenders. Just going back to history last year, where we saw Al Ahly Benghazi make it all the way to the finals. Maybe this Al Ahly Tripoli team might follow the same route. Of course, it's not a given. They have to earn it. But the way they played in Rwanda, they were just an excellent team. Like you said, the history where they were scoring 100 points. When they beat teams, especially in the last result against MBB and which other team?
APR, Nairobi City Tenders.
Yeah. So you can see that, they are a team to look out for in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I'll agree with that. They are going to be tough in the playoffs. But it's for me, I would say I want to see more from them heading into the playoffs as at now. So we saw teams like Nairobi City Tenders, who were the winners in the Elite 16, the road to BAL. The winners, they were champions in their undefeated champions in their league as well, but they came into the BAL and we didn't see the same dominance from them. It was like they were short of some touches. I don't know. But later in the game, when they had to bench the imports, they picked up.
Yeah, we spoke about this in the last episode, that chemistry is important, and maybe Coach Brad Ibbs will be kicking himself for not leaning a little bit more on the local players to help to get better results and make sure that the imports that they brought in fit the system. But it is what it is. I'm sure they've learned from this experience and also plan better to make sure that in the next, if they do qualify again for the BAL, that, it's players that come in and they fit and they form better chemistry with the core players that they have.
Still on Nairobi City Tender, do you think it's the chemistry that didn't work from them in the beginning, or you think it was lack of experience also, and let's say their first time in the BAL? Do you think that also played a role in their game?
Of course, experience does count in these tournaments, but also judging by how they did in the road to BAL, you'd expect a little bit more. Of course, the likes of Majok and Haruna had moved on, but maybe get equally good players that can fill in those spots. That could have been the way to go about it. But the reliance on imports maybe was their undoing, as it was the undoing of teams like ASVille Dakar. Again, coaches, when they plan this thing, teams, when they plan this thing, they have to make sure that, again, when you bring in those players, it's players that can fit your style of play.
I get the point. I get the point. But I think they'll be happy with the one win they got so far. At least they didn't go 0-6. They at least won one game, which they will say the home fans will be proud of them with. But I think I was disappointed with some performance from them in the likes of Will Davis. I think it's Will Davis, yeah, and Evans Ganapamo. We know Evans Ganapamo is a strong force when it comes to the BAL, but we didn't see much of him this year like that. So Davis was okay for them in the qualifying rounds as well, but he also fell short in the tournament itself.
Yeah, maybe you have to ask yourself a question. Are these guys playing regularly wherever they are? And, when they come into the BAL, they come in match fit, or are they just for lack of a better word, idling or just play, idling. And that does also impact the team, because you find that, yes, you are playing in your domestic league regularly and you are fit. And the guy who's coming in, yeah, he's kind of, not even game fit, or what, has been just practicing by themselves to get themselves into game shape. So I'm sure that does have an effect on, the team chemistry.
Heading into this contest also, in the last episode, I made pinpoints of they not bringing in much of their imports because we saw when RB City Tenders made a lot of signings, bringing in a lot of import. They had some Brazilians, they have some Ghanaians in the team, but coming to the tournament, we just saw a few players. They dropped most of their imports and questions were asked. Their federation, most of their medias were up and were like, it's a whole lot. They were bashing their own team. We saw those scrutinies and lots of those things online whereby fans were not happy with their performance and the way management ran the team before coming into this tournament as well. And I think if things like that are happening, there should be a big question to be asked.
Yeah, I think because of the magnitude of the tournament and how it's changing the landscape of basketball in Africa, teams need to not just go through the motions, or just, hope that when they bring in players that, they'll get the results that they want. It takes a lot of planning. I think, well, again, you have to learn from teams like from the North African region and let's say Angola as well, how they prepare for these kinds of tournaments. They and what just you can see from previous BALs who has won: Zamalek of Egypt, Al Ahly of Egypt, US Monastir in Tunisia. Recently, last year, Petro de Luanda were the champions. So those are teams that, have, even before the BAL came into the scene, have been champions before on the continent, and, they're experienced, and they've, know what kind of personnel suits the team, and, have a good core of players as well. Yeah, basically a certain level of experience counts at this level of basketball.
Okay, so moving away from the Nairobi City Tenders, we will look at our own South African team made by BAL MBB, which we were surprised also by their performance. I would say I was surprised because I wasn't expecting them to get two wins from this tournament. But I think they made some corrections and they came up by winning two games. And I think after winning those two games, they fell asleep again. I don't know if you see the same thing.
Yeah, I was also one of the people who was positive about this MBB team, especially that they had got a lot of mileage playing in the Vale tournament, playing in the ICSL. I would have thought that, this, because of that kind of preparation, it will go a long way. It's just them now being mentally sharp. When the reality hits you, it's that you can't cheat the game of basketball. It means that we probably need a stronger league than what we have, and the kind of preparations that they put in, and also making sure that the import players come in time so that they can mesh well with the team. So that's my kind of assessment of MBB. I'm sure if you read Peter Prinsloo speaking about the issue, Sam Vincent also speaking about the issue, that yes, they
Yeah,
need
I saw
a
that.
much stronger competition in South Africa so that they can be more competitive when they go to the continent.
But one thing to add up to what you're saying, I'm not disputing the fact that South Africa needs a stronger league also. But one thing I will also say is I feel it's high time South African players try to explore in other leagues because they are too comfortable in their zone, whereby they feel we okay here and we okay with the system, we okay with how we play here. How many players we see playing outside South Africa? Recently, Cape Town Tigers put Simbayoni on the map, and we saw him going outside. We've seen Peter Prislow also playing outside. But how many other players can we boast that South Africa put outside are able to leave their comfort zone to play outside South Africa to gain the experience?
I think maybe let me go a little bit back to history. You did have guys like Neo Mutiba play outside, play in Mozambique. Quentin Denesan did play also in Mozambique. And, well, you had guys like Tsakani Ngubeni, an All-American, playing in the US college there. So yeah, there was a good crop of players back in the early 2000s playing a certain high level of basketball. And, between then and now, something must have gone wrong in the works. While there's a lot of dysfunctionality in our basketball, we were able to export a good number of players overseas or within the continent, especially Mozambique, to get some competitive basketball. I think, there needs to be going back to that to make sure that, we produce the quality of player that we need to compete at this level, and also that South Africa basketball as well steps up with its domestic structures to make sure that, yes, we are competitive. We can bring in quality expertise in terms of coaching, good players as well to compete with our local players, so that, when we go out there, we are just as competitive as the rest of the continent. It will take time, but we have to start from somewhere. And also, just going back to Cape Town Tigers, I think we got a smokescreen in terms of how they came into South African basketball, because they didn't play in any league. They didn't put any development structures. They were just built solely for the BAL. So while they did bring eyes to the game in South Africa, they didn't really leave anything tangible.
I get that point, but I think they brought this also they brought this awakening to South African basketball, knowing that there are lots of talent. Because compared to what we saw from NBB in this years, in Cape Town, in the years of Cape Town Tigers, we saw South African players, national players, players from South Africa were given much opportunity on the courts to play. But NBB, we didn't see much like that. Players were given few minutes. Our very own, let's say, the likes of Simbayoni. Simbayoni played less in this tournament. And we know Simbayoni. When we talk about Simbayoni, we will know that he is the current holder, like rebound holder. Like he's got the most rebounds in a game. And you have Simbayoni in your team and put him on the bench. That's that. I don't get it, but I think Sam Vincent gave privilege to the import more than he didn't trust much. He didn't trust the national players from South Africa.
I think it's nothing new. It happens with other teams that are desperate to get the result, instead of making sure that, yes, the teams that are going to compete, have a good core of players that you can get the positive results. With Nati Sibanyoni, you could see the coaches that got the best out of him were Alton Boyson. When they first qualified for the BAL, he got the best out of him, and also Flo Shingwenya got the best out of him. Rashid Hazard and Sam Vincent probably saw things differently. And also with Nati, he had a good season in Burundi, but between then and now, what was he playing? And, you have to ask that question as well to make, because I think he was also not in his best self.
I get the angle you're coming from, but for me personally, I felt he should have trusted much more in the South African players as well, because we could see other teams. That's what we saw from our BCT tenders. At ending the game, he trusted in the players and they delivered for him. So I felt if he could have trusted a bit more, we could see something. He could have motivated the players a lot, because look, I play basketball myself, and putting me on the bench as a player, and you see me on the bench, you bypass without putting me inside. It shows that you don't have trust in me. So the moment you put me on the court, the zeal of doing something to prove myself to you sometimes might not be there, because it's like you already don't trust in me. So it's like you just pushing me inside to go do something and just you take me out again.
I think there's something Sam Vincent said in an article I wrote, and I think he repeated it again, that the players don't trust each other on the court. So it also goes back to him as the coach and building chemistry within the team to make sure that players understand each other, players also understand
Exactly,
what he wants. So if you
exactly.
haven't built that, then yeah, of course, you'll get what you saw now. Yeah, it was impressive them getting the two victories, but also, yeah, uh, they didn't get the result. They are not coming home for the playoffs. So it's back to the drawing board for them and the rest of South African basketball.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm really pleased with they fighting their fighting spirit. They fought hard, and unfortunately, they couldn't get that last win, which could have pushed them to play in the finals here at home. In all, I didn't think they would go this far in the now conference, but I think I have to give them some respect for that, and they did very well and surprised me as well. I don't know for you, and I don't know for my other viewers, but for me, they surprised me because I wasn't expecting this result from them.
Like I said, man, I was one of those who were hopeful that they would come back home for the playoffs. But I think we shouldn't be surprised that this result came is what happened. I think again we have to go back to the basics and not try and cheat the game rather than obsess with results of results or outcomes. Let's engage more in the process of making sure that we are ready for these kinds of tournaments. That means we are ready, we prepare from the grassroots, and then going higher and higher or upwards.
Moving away from NBB, let's look at the home team, APR Basketball Club. They brought in some good players, which we also thought they were going to do much more. We also counted them among the team that will qualify for the playoffs. And yes, APR actually, sorry, qualified. We saw some games where they also stood out with the injury from Aliu Diarra. We saw the team just go down because they lost Aliu Diarra due to some ankle sprain, I guess, or some injuries. And we didn't see much more from them until Aliu Diarra came back on the court again.
Yeah, I think you have to question the depth of the team, the quality of players. Of course, you have an experienced guy like Yusuf Andue, Obadiah Noel, who was a top scorer. Guys like, who's this? I forgot the
Boyo,
American guy. Yes,
Chris
Boyo.
Randall,
And Randall. Yes, yes, Randall.
Jason Randall.
Yes, Cheson Randall. If you've got that quality of players, I mean, if Aliu goes down, yes, of course, that's probably a good 10 rebounds, a good 10 points, a good 10 points and a good 10 rebounds not available for you. But then you have to look within the depth of your squad to say, hey, who can fill this role? Not convinced by them 3-3. I don't think they will make much of an impact in these playoffs. I did see that they got Nuni Omot. Maybe it will improve their chances, but yeah, they were just not convincing in the Nile conference, especially in their home venue. You would have expected that they'd be more motivated, but three losses in the conference to first to Al Ahly and MBB. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you just scratch your head and wonder, hey, are these guys really contenders or yeah, pretenders?
I think the injury of Aliu Diarra also played a role because after he got injured, they had three losses in a row. They got three losses in a row, and you could question them: was the team built around Aliu Diarra? Because they've got some experienced players in Obadia, Jason Randall, Indoye, but something was just missing after Aliu Diarra just got off the court with that injury. Something was just missing from the team. And we saw the numbers Aliu Diarra was putting up. Massive block.
Yes,
And he's
yes,
now the current holder
yes,
of
yes,
he's got match blocks in the game, surpassing
yes,
Malouch, the Senegalese guy who had seven earlier. The South Sudanese, sorry, the one who
yeah.
the he was holding the most record in blocks. He was seven, and now Aliu Diarra holds the most record now in eight blocks in the game. So I think he was putting up those numbers and he was helping the team off on offense and defensive wise as well. I think.
I think that also goes to the coaching as well. Does the coach fit what the kind of system that's played internationally, or is he more looking towards something like an NBA culture of basketball. Whereas the international game is more about sharing the ball. The ethos is focuses more on the team. And I don't think it was the case with APR. It was more, yes, like you say, centered on Aliu and not picking from your depth and saying this guy can fill this role. He may not be Aliu Diarra, but he will make sure that we get the W's.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'll give credit to Badia for securing that win for them in their last game. That massive that late Beza Vita 3. I
Yes,
think
yes,
it
that
saved them, and it saved APR a lot. If not, they would have been we would have been hearing another story now. I think the home crowd also did a massive work by supporting the team. They drew more strength from the home crowd as well. I think they did well on that aspect. I don't know if you think otherwise, but I think they drew much strength from the home crowd as well.
Yeah, obviously, home court advantage does matter in these kinds of tournaments or any kind or domestic league. But, I'm still not convinced by them, especially in that last game. Yes, Nairobi City Thunder made their adjustments, but, I expected a lot more from APR. But yeah, I'm not convinced that they will make an impact at these playoffs.
So moving away from the now conference, let's head to the finals where the 12 teams are now going to convey in Victoria and battle it out for the title. Where we've got 8 teams qualifying already, and I think this is going to be one of the interesting games we're going to see so far because all these teams that have qualified have proven that they are worthy to be here. They are really really worthy to be here, and we've got
Yeah,
teams like Al Ahly Tripoli, Al Ittihad Alexandra, US Monastir, River Swoopers from Nigeria, Petro de Luanda from Angola, APR from Rwanda, Stars from Cape Verde, and Morocco got a lucky spot with the help of MBB not qualifying. MBB has goals difference actually dropped MBB to give the spot to Fast Rabat, which I think it's a
you've got to
redemption.
get the job done. You have
Yeah,
to get the
I
job
think I
done,
think
man.
I'll call
You
that
cannot
redemption.
rely on results from elsewhere. I mean, yeah. So you have to
They
get
were
the
there.
job done.
No, but they will say the MBB had the chance, but they didn't go for it. So yeah, it is what it is. So moving
Yeah,
forward in this conference, teams are making signings, and it's becoming interesting now
yeah,
because I think it's going to be a tougher matchup here because we've seen Petro de Luanda sign South Africa's very own Samkelo Mele, who is a massive player, massive player. And
yeah,
he's no stranger to the Sunbet Arena. We've
yeah,
seen his works that he's did for Cape Town Tigers, and I think it's a massive signing. Today they announced another signing. Pedro Landa announced another
yeah,
signing. The person of Kendrick Ray. He
yeah,
signed another player in Kendrick Ray. We've seen Al Ahly Tripoli also add another player because they've lost Dion Thompson. Dion Thompson is not coming to the
yes,
playoffs, so they signed Fabian White Jr. to replace him as well. And Stars, as you all know, also lost some few players in McLean. I think Richard Park is also not with the team. I'm sure about
yeah,
that. So they signed Jalen McLeod. They lost McLean and now they brought in McLeod. So let's see what
yeah,
if McLeod can fill the shoes. If McLeod can fill the shoes of McLean, who left for Burundi.
yeah,
Also, we've seen Nuni Omot, 2023 MVP in the BAL,
yeah,
coming back to the BAL turf again. To this time around, he's not going anywhere. He's playing for APR. APR lost.
yeah,
He's here to replace Dan Miller actually. So Dan
yeah.
Miller is not going with the team. So how do you see the signings and this matchups coming up at the Sunbet Arena?
It will be interesting to see how they adapt in such a short space of time. I mean, they only have between the time they arrive in the country where they've been signed by the clubs and then get into Pretoria, how well they acclimate and, how they fit into the team. I'm sure coaches will probably rely on their tried and tested players going into this part of the tournament. You can't try to experiment. It's about these players coming in and fitting in a short space of time and impacting the game as best as they can. I think looking at Petro, Kendrick Ray, he's a guy who was a champion in Greece. He's a champion in
Yeah,
the Czech
okay.
Republic. Sam Kelotele was in Spain recently.
recently,
with
yeah.
Valladolid. He was had a very productive 12 games that he
Season.
played there. And, of course, they'll probably fit in well, given that well, maybe they'll get come off the bench and make an impact from that stage. What I think Coach Sergio Valdemilos will probably go with his trusted players in the game against APR. It's a seeding game, so this is probably not for what space place in the quarterfinals. And also, I think, like I said, most coaches are going to go with tried and trusted players. Just going back to Petro, I think it's a good thing that they have a South African player, and
Yeah.
from a strategic point, yes, it will bring eyes. And if for anything,
Attention to
man,
them.
just go there and watch for because Sam Kelokele, one of the best players to come out of this country, will be showing out at the Sunbet Arena. Looking at a team like Rivers Hoopers as well, they've brought in who's this Chinka Garba, who was playing
Yeah,
in Rwanda for Rwandan
I
basketball,
forgot to
and Ahmed Doumbia from
Med
Guinea, who was
Dumbia.
playing for
Yeah, exactly.
Sacré Metropole. Those are probably good players as well. Garba was also had a productive season in
In Rwanda.
Rwanda, and
Orient, yeah.
Ahmed Doumbia will probably bring his more experience to an already experienced team.
Mm.
Fus Rabat, they've brought in Tunisian player Omar Abada, who was a champion recently with Club Africain,
Oh,
also
that's
Afro
nice.
basket champion as well. That's a very good floor general to bring in for
Exactly.
this
Really
tournament.
experienced.
So I'm sure maybe Fuzraba will go there with a lot more confidence and probably hope they get better results than they did in the Kalahari conference. You spoke about Nuni Omot. Yeah, MVP of the 2023 season. Yeah, he's undoubted. He'll get you buckets. A good defender as well. Will bring another added defense to APR. While I'm still not convinced about them, that is he adds quality to the team. Uh, let's see. I'm not sure. Al Ittihad, they will probably stick with what they have. They are still busy with their domestic season 2-2 with
Yes. Yeah.
Al Ahly. They lost their game today. So,
Yeah, today.
yeah, I think, yeah. So we'll see with them. I think they are probably the favorites. One of their players, Yusuf Abu Shusha, spoke with a lot of confidence in an article on the Big Tip of saying they want to win this so that they can play in the FIBA Intercontinental Cup. So yeah, that's a team that you could probably say, looking at how they finished in the Kalahari conference, you'd probably say those are your tournament winners. But you know how these games go. There's no, let's say outright favorite. Yeah.
For
Which
me,
other team?
I think yeah, Crow Stars. You can go ahead. Crow Stars.
Okay, Creole Star, yeah, they surprised many, I'm sure, in that last game against Petro getting that due. Well, they are a dark horse in this stage of the competition, but they also have their experienced players. They brought in who's this Jalen McLeod, a guy who's been playing in Turkey. He's also had a productive season there. Like in the 3 games that he's helped the team, games he helped his team in Turkey win, you could see he's put up some good numbers. So him and along with the local contingent of Cape Verde players that are very experienced who have played in World Cups, also in the recent Afro-Basket qualifiers, they could surprise many and have a magical run. Let's see, you also said Fabian White as well. I
And
mean, sorry,
Tripoli.
Al Ittihad bringing
Al
in
Ittihad.
Fabian White
No,
for
Al
Al
Ali
Ahly
Tripoli.
Tripoli. Yes, Al Ahly
Yeah,
Tripoli.
Al Ali
Yeah, I
Tripoli.
think maybe he's another quality addition. But when you look at the Tripoli team, man, like in every position, guys like Nassim Badrouche and Mohamed Sadi, these are guys who play in the domestic league in Libya. They've also stepped up, showing that they are also quality players. And the international players that they bring in are just fitting in and making
Yeah,
sure
blending
that
perfectly.
they also add quality to the Tripoli team. You saw how Jean-Jacques Boissy performed coming off the bench,
Mm,
point scorer in the BAL. So yeah, they
yeah.
are a team that you can say well they can follow in the footsteps of Al Ahly Benghazi.
Yeah, but moving forward, for me, I think for this tournament, I'm not ruling the North African teams out at all because we've
Yeah,
seen how they've dominated in the BAL each and every season. We saw
yeah,
Zamalek win the first edition, and
hmm,
after Zamalek, Al Ali came in the second season. For their first
yeah,
time, they won it their first time in for participating. Then US, I don't know, the second season, US Monastir won it from
yeah,
Tunisia. Then Al Ali came
yeah,
in the third season, their first time, they won it as well. We saw Al Ali Benghazi also came in 2024 where
yeah.
they got to the finals and they lost to Petro de Luanda. So I'm not ruling
Yeah.
those North African teams. It's like they are putting in a lot of work when it comes to the BL. They put in a lot of work and they are doing the right things that the other African countries are not doing.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I think let's not forget Angola as well. You can also put them in that category of teams that you have mentioned that these are countries that have been doing the right things in terms of what growing the game of basketball in their countries, and those results have shown in continental tournaments like the Afrobasket, like the BAL, that these are teams and coming from countries where yes, development is paramount, and also making sure that guys are coming through the structures and building a winning culture for their clubs and countries. Like one team, US Monastir, they've been dominating the Tunisian league. Recently lost, and to Club Africain. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a perfect example of a good winning culture and also a competitive culture within Tunisian basketball. In Egypt as well, you can see how Al Ahly and Al Ittihad are going toe to toe against each other in the
Yeah.
domestic league
Cheddar.
final. That this is a very competitive league. Petro de Luanda, yes, they've been dominating in Angola for the last couple of years, and yeah,
Seed time winning.
but Angolan basketball has always been on a high
I am pretty
trajectory.
strong.
Of course, the national team hasn't been that great in recent years, but they've always maintained that high level of being competitive.
Yeah.
And just
So
sorry,
I think we're going to
going
have
back, yes, the rest of the continent, and this is an example for the rest of the continent to follow, building strong domestic leagues at home. This is what Rwanda are trying to do, and hopefully, let's say, give
mm,
them another 10 years, they will have their own good crop of players coming through the ranks and competing with the likes of your Angolas, your Tunisias, your Egypts, your the Libyas as well. Yeah, if you want to include Libya as a force, but yeah,
yeah, going forward, I there is some news also circulating that Al Ali Tripoli are having problems with acquiring their visa to South Africa, and I hope that doesn't affect the team as at now because these problems are very very disturbing when it comes to sporting field because we've seen this even in football whereby teams have problems acquiring visas to other countries to go participate, and it's very very disturbing. So we wish them all the best, and I hope they clarify these issues with the South African High Commission in Turkey or Tunisia, wherever they are applying. I think it's in Tunisia, so I think they just
yeah.
have to sort things out, and we see them here. I hope it doesn't affect the team mentally though, or maybe
I'm sure,
it
yeah. I
delays
mean,
them.
they have to make sure that they get here on time. I'm sure these are diplomatic issues that just where what politicians have to talk and make sure that, yes, this is the procedures that need to be followed to make sure that, yes, this team arrives on time to compete here in South Africa. I mean, you can't have a team missing out because of those kinds of issues. You have to make sure that, yeah, your paperwork is sorted and you come and you compete. Yeah,
Before we go, I want to
yeah.
know your prediction for this final. Who wins the title for you?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I'm looking at US Monastir will be a contender. I think for some of the players in that team, is probably a now and never. I know a player like Radwan Slimani has said that, yeah, if he has more years to give to this game, he'll give. But now that they've lost the league to Club
Yeah,
Africain, you know
they won't
that
be
for
coming
some
to the
players,
next
this might
edition.
be the last time you see them on this level. So they'll probably want to give it a full go. Al Ahly, Al Ahly Tripoli, they impressed me in the Nile Conference. They are a contender, of course. And who else? Al Ittihad, they're a contender of, yeah. And who else? Petro de Luanda. They'll be more confident after winning the league. Was it a few days ago?
Yeah,
And yeah, they will come into the playoffs with a lot of confidence, and they'll also want to defend their title. So the four teams that I mentioned, dark horse for me would be Rivers Hoopers. Yeah, I think they are a team that you could see upsetting many other teams these playoffs.
I'll be going with only two teams. It's Al Ali Tripoli or Al Ittihad, Alexandra from Egypt. Those I'm going with only two teams. I don't want to mention any dark horses here. No, I think if I'm going to go to I'm going to go with if I'm going to go with another team, then I think I'll go with my neighboring country, which is Nigeria Supers. Sorry, but I'm not counting Petro de Luanda this year.